goes through every strata of society. Unfortunately, some people still don't believe that we lost out in participating in these two conflicts. There are two countries we can learn from, experiences of two countries. One is China, the other is the United States. In the last 20 years, look at the infrastructure development in China. Compare that to the United States. United States supposedly won the wars in Afghanistan, in Iraq. But the amount of money spent, God knows how many $1 trillion was spent in these wars. At the same time, China was spending that money on in its infrastructure. And anyone who has seen the change in China in these past 20 years will understand that the Chinese way of running their foreign policy is much, much superior. They also have the conflicts, but nowhere did China commit to fighting a war. Pakistan has great opportunities. As you mentioned, Ambassador Izaz, the geostrategic position of Pakistan is such that if we, from now onwards, put our house in order, and by that ease of doing business, making it easier for investors to come to Pakistan, our visa regime, making it easier to people to see Pakistan. Previously, we made it so difficult for tourists to come to Pakistan, hoping that the recent developments will move towards talks and a political settlement in Afghanistan. Not easy, but it's the only way which the world now recognizes. The only way forward is a political solution rather than a military one. Iran, Saudi Arabia, one of Saudi Arabia has always been a friend in need for Pakistan. Whenever we help, Saudi Arabia has been there. And I can never forget my government when we came into power, the sort of economic challenges which we faced, Saudi Arabia was the first country to come forward and help us. And Iran is our neighbor. In times, we can never forget, in the 60s, when Pakistan was involved in a conflict, Iran came to our help. So, one friend, one neighbor, facing a conflict situation, again, I'm very pleased to say that Pakistan is trying its best, has done its best to make sure that there is not a conflict in our neighborhood, having already suffered what is happening in Afghanistan and the war on terror in Pakistan. We tried our bit. President Trump asked me to have a talk with the Iranian leadership, trying to promote a dialogue between the Iranians and the Americans, and hope it works out, because the last thing I repeat, the last thing we want is another conflict starting in Iran or the Middle East. Our relationship with China is better than it's ever been. China offers us the greatest hope of racial superiority, an ideology which is built on hate, because whenever an ideology is sold, as RSS sold this ideology of Hindu superiority, it also sold the hatred. The reason why they could not reach to their great Hindu civilization was because of Muslims, Christians, invaders. So this hate, when the two get together, racial superiority and hatred for other races, it always ends up in bloodshed. This is the nearest thing to Nazi Germany, what is happening in India. When the Nazi party came about in the 20s, no one quite understood where it was heading. The Nazi party was, in the beginning, all the intellectuals, people thought that the Nazi party was the best thing happening to Germany. because they talked about nationalism, national pride, self-esteem, a country that had been defeated in the First World War. No one understood where it was heading. In my opinion, not everyone understands where India is headed right now. Between 1930 and 1934, in 4 years, Germany went from a liberal democracy to a totalitarian, fascist state, racist state. In India, their Nobel Prize winner, Amartya Sen, he recently gave an interview to the New Yorker where he said that he's never felt the fear in India